meeting to order. Please note that we have a quorum present. We have the minutes from December 3 to approve. Someone want to make that motion? If there are no corrections to them. A motion and a second. Favor say aye.
Aye.
The agenda. Any changes that we need to make in the agenda for today? Everybody's happy with it?
Excuse me, Chairman, under unfinished business, we need to make this reference back to what all previously said. Continue that dialogue.
All right.
Is that under?
Unfinished
Or under?
or under.
I'm gonna bring up the shelter business hearings.
Yeah.
Good with that. All right,
With those changes, I'll approve agenda.
second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved with the changes. We'll call for public comment. We have 10-minute period here. Is there anyone that wishes to comment in public?
I do, please.
You have the floor.
Okay. Amber Christensen. After the Board of Adjustment meeting on Monday, I sent you all a complaint regarding the planning and zoning officer. It's what she told me to do, is to file a complaint, so I did. Included in that, I sent my initial complaint from October 28th that I'd sent you, and I haven't ever heard back from anyone if you took any action on that, what happened with that, if any discussion was made with Krista about that, anything, and I'd kind of like to know that the county cared about that. I, in the last year, have worked with the Planning and Zoning Office in Dual County, and I worked with the Planning and Zoning Office, her name's Jody, and I work with Luke and Becky in the Planning and Zoning Office in Cottington County. They are nothing but polite, accommodating, professional. I go in, I get what I need, they're here you go, you know. And the very first time I've ever been in the Planning and Zoning Office is October 28th, and it was unprofessional, and I couldn't get the information I wanted. I asked to look at the building permit book, and she said there wasn't one. And I said, you don't have them in 3-ring binder like the other counties? She said no. Later, talking to Mark Reedstrom told me, well, just go look at the 3-ring binder. And I said, there's a 3-ring binder? And he said, yeah. I said, well, she told me there isn't one. And he got quiet. So it's ridiculous. I couldn't look at building permits. I was misled on countless things on that. I've been misled in emails, and I just want to know that I can walk into the office and get a public document that I ask for without having to fight for it. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Anyone else want to comment this morning? All right. Christie and Al, you had requested time here.
Yep.
We'll include it at this time, though. I won't give you that time to comment.
I'll start. I've been in front of these commissioners many times to bring up issues with the PZO office. Some of those things are unauthorized changes in the ordinance book, conditional use findings of fact that not match the minutes. I cannot remember how many times the incorrect public notice has caused the Board of Adjustment to postpone, rehear, or table a conditional use permit. Overcharges and inconsistent charges for copies. Obstruction of the public's right to view documents and the public's ability to give documents and information to our decision makers. All the elected and appointed officials in our office, in the courthouse, are here to take an oath of office. In the state of South Dakota, that includes upholding the state and federal constitution. which protects our property rights and due process rights. That seems to get stomped on a lot in this courthouse. I feel, and I'm sure there are others, that there is a pattern of obstruction, malfeasance, misleading statements, tyranny, and abuse of power from the PZO office. I'm not gonna rehash all those. I'm just gonna start with what's happened in the last couple months. First thing I'd like to talk about is the cancellation of the November Board of Adjustment hearing. On October 28th, our attorney officially filed an appeal with PZO of the PZO's decision. The appeal was filed in a timely manner and met section 502 and the Board of Adjustment bylaws, so we should have been on the agenda for November. On October 30th, Alan and I requested information from the PZO. PZO emailed me that November Board of Adjustment hearing had been canceled, much to our surprise. PZO still has not answered a follow-up email on that. That same day, on the PZ website, it was posted that there was no information for the board's action. We know, PZO, the auditor, the state's attorney, all knew that was not a true statement. The Board of Adjustment meeting, and by the way, there was still a week that could have been fixed, and nobody took action to fix that and make it right for us. Then the Board of Adjustment meeting, the board chairman may have been misled by the PZO. It seems like an obstruction to our due process and abuse of power, and must be investigated, and appropriate action should be taken. Starting in September of this year, I have been trying to verify whether building permits have been issued for turbines in the Crown Ridge project. This is a requirement of the county conditional use permit and PUC. Those building permits have to be viewed within a certain amount of time and appealed within a certain amount of time, and it's not 30 days. That is an appealable thing. And when it's not given to us, that's a due process problem, and we cannot appeal a decision that may be incorrect, or we know more information that they should not be approved. On September 16th, Alan and I gave PZO photo evidence that Crown Ridge had started construction on or before September 17th. In the morning of October 28th, Amber and I were told by the PZO no building permits have been issued. By October 28th, I had been told 3 times no building permits were issued. Remember that, October 28th. No building permits, 3rd time. On October 28th, I drove parts of the Crown Ridge footprint, observed 18 excavated locations, some with foundations. I reported this to the PZO on October 30th. In the afternoon of October 28th, we were back to the PZO office and were directed to an envelope on the counter. Finally, the all-elusive turbine building permit. It looked irregular. To name a few, it was not filled out correctly or identified what turbines were permitted. I asked the PZO what turbines were permitted. She said she did not know. I asked to see the check to verify that payment was made. At this time, the PZO misled us concerning the payment for the permit, which we just received. The PZO directed us to the treasurer's office and wasted several employees' time. After finally getting one building permit with 13 turbines on it on October 29th, Alan and I filed a 6th complaint concerning the building permits. This complaint still has not been answered, and on December 11th, the PZO responded to my inquiry email stating that there were no complaints pending. Where did it go? By the way, I almost always copy Karen and Mark in. I wish I didn't have to waste their time, but someone has to be aware of the things that are not being handled in a timely manner in the PZO office. On December 9th, we were given the PZO decision on complaints 2 through 5. Around 54 days had passed, and now it will be 90 days before the Board of Adjustment gets to weigh in. And remember when I said we don't get to give them information? Any printed material that I give them, they don't get. They don't get to keep. It is swooped up and taken away. That's not right. During the Board of Adjustment hearing, the PZO stated that 3 turbine permits had been approved, and I only knew of 2. I picked up the second one on November 12th. The PZO at this hearing, for some reason, perhaps to influence the board's decision that Crown Ridge had not started construction and the building permits were issued. They were not issued by the time they had started construction, and that changed the outcome. It changed whether there was a pattern of behavior of not following the conditional use permit. Yesterday, the PZO spent more time and county resources thwarting my right to view public documents during business hours. It took 2 hours and 6 people to retrieve a document that would have taken the PZO less than a minute to give me. This document should have been on the counter and accessible, as other public documents had been in the past. The permit I received yesterday had some real issues. It was approved on August 20th. Okay, on October 28th, I've been told there's no building permits. And that also should be able to be confirmed by Mark Reedstrom, because we have email chains of talking back and forth. I don't know if you noticed that yesterday when you were, did you review it anymore? Okay. Why was it approved without payment? The ordinance requires payment for approval. This permit was issued in August. Surely that would have been enough time to have public notice. I may be mistaken, but I have not seen any turbine building permits in the newspaper. The lack of transparency leads to mistrust. Not enforcing conditional use permits leads to mistrust. The lack of communication leads to mistrust. Misleading and purposefully incorrect statements lead to mistrust. Incompetency leads to mistrust. All which leads to lawsuits. I ask the county commissioners immediately make changes to protect the county from more lawsuits.
Oh, so. Well, I was here a couple weeks ago, talking about my frustrations. Now I'm kinda mad about it after this last meeting. We did not get a fair hearing at our appeal hearing because our planning and zoning officer told Bob Sparks that Crown Ridge had their building permits when they did not. Okay, I would expect her to be terminated because of that act. Also, the planning and zoning office needs to be audited. The zoning officer should not be allowed back in the office until the audit is finished. There is something suspicious going on with the building permits. The zoning officer is being dishonest and evasive with the answers to questions put to her at our Board of Appeal hearing. Okay, I've got a copy of Cottington County building permits from Blattner, and Alicia signs us. This is what they look like. Multiple pages, all filled out. I mean, it's really professional. These are copies of our building permits. This is just garbage.
Let's kind of keep it to a professional level here. We're willing to listen,
Okay.
we'll listen.
Anyway, this is our permit. This was made out for one. Scratch off, then start writing things in for 13 of them on one permit, and this lady signed this as one. This is another one that, same thing, scratch off, and then handwrite stuff, and there's no initials. The lady in the Cottington County one, did make a mistake, but she initialed it when she did that. None of these. This last one is for 5 of them. There's no amount what they paid for a fee or anything like the other ones. I'm so frustrated with how this is going. I just don't even know what to say anymore. When the board asks the planning and zoning officer a question, how would you know if it's the truth or not, especially when you need to act on it? It's also a struggle to get any public information from her without a confrontation. It usually involves many other people to get access to the information. It's disgraceful how other people's time is wasted in that endeavor. Now we want to know how the board can make us whole after a dishonest appeal hearing. These spend a lot of time and resources trying to go through the due process and to hold the developer accountable to the rules and regulations. And I don't know all the ins and outs of the planning and zoning office, so I have to ask for help, and I expect to get that, just like I do in any other county office. I emailed Karen some questions, this is probably a week or two ago. I get a response that's just so nice and stuff, and it just comes, it's just easy. I was suspecting something, she cleared it all up for me, then I forget about it. I deal with, Raynell over there, she's just gracious and helps me. I don't know how their office works, but I get the help. I don't know what to do, I'm gonna call for an audit. I said, I've already talked to the Attorney General how to go about it, so something's gonna have to be done. I just can't go like this all the time. I was frustrated before, but now I'm mad. And I'm gonna do something about it. I want you guys to think about it, and this county can't be getting sued all the time because of something like this. It's so simple. When we asked for those building permits, Amber and I were driving around, I said, there's no building permits out here in Cottington. She goes to Luke, and they're building without building permits. There's nothing out there. Luke investigated, you're right, he fined them $54,108. They gladly paid it. Then they paid another $1,126, I think, for, on the O&M building, I think that's what it was. And we talked about this, she could have went out and fined them and put the building permits out there the way they're supposed to be, and they would have been at every site like they're supposed to be. But no, we gotta be dishonest about it. You guys could have collected $50,000, $60,000 in fines. They were willing to pay for it, they even admitted at the meeting that night they started building without building permits. I'm pretty frustrated about it. That's about all I got to say, I guess.
Comment from the board? We'll move on with the meeting then. Thank you for your input. We convene as a drainage board. Let's see, I need a motion for that. Okay, we'll convene as a drainage board. Drainage permit DR 2019-41, Michael Shinnok, Alden Township.
This land is being acquired by Schmitz. Mike came in and filled the permit out to the southeast quarter of section 36. This will be a cooperative project with the Hunt line that goes into the McFarlands to be able to get the water out of the low-lying areas. So formally, this was the Kurt Sant Trust, and at the time of the permit being signed, there was some action that was happening, and I believe that that's been through, and you actually own it now. Certified wetland determinations are here. This is what the lines look like. Water for 2019-41 will go to the easterly direction into a blue line. Five letters went out for certification. Everything's in order.
I would move to approve.
Motion, we have a second. Further discussion?
Where does that dump into?
Hunts,
That's,
tile line.
This is Hunt's right here, then you're
It
definitely
goes north.
Yes.
Yeah, north, it's east or.
This is Hunt's.
It is north.
Goes through here, Hunt's is over here. It's Hunt's spot right here, and. So it's coming this way instead of going that way. No, it's going that way. It's going that way.
It's headed northeast.
Yeah, northeast.
It goes into the tiles.
I'm sitting the yellow bank there. Yep.
It goes into their tile.
discussion, or if there's no discussion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's that, you're permitted to do your tiling. Yeah, today.
They own it.
DR 2019-42, Cecil Larson, Madison Township.
Cecil's request is to cooperate with Bill Street's tile line. It's going to make the line more formable and connect with it at the neighbor's request. So this will not be going through the road. It does have the certified wetland determination of the land. Cecil and Joyce Larson are the owners of the full 80 acres. This is the mint color is where Bill Street has his tie line, and his signature was obtained so that they can go into that tile line in a cooperative project.
You're sitting.
Well, with Cecil coming in, it'll have to be increased. I think it was 8 inch before, and maybe go to a 10. But I've signed off on it. I'll abstain, but.
Move to approve. Second,
I'll second it.
any further discussion from anyone on this?
Cecil.
We have to look at this one carefully, because the commissioner involved.
Well, maybe I want to take that motion back.
That's why we can discuss it here now.
Is there any questions?
Anybody comment from the public?
I received one phone call, and that was just the question where it was being outletted, and he was fine with it.
You're outletting into the stream, right?
There's a creek
Show us a
there.
little bit more.
Okay. Let's see here. Here's where we at here. Here we are. Okay. This is our property here. Cecil is coming in. We've got a main line going from here. It'll dump into this creek right here. You guys approved that here a couple months ago now, I believe. And
Is this
since,
the road that goes into Lagoon?
this is the Lamoille Road,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was on.
Yeah, you looked at this piece here when we got that one approved. I think there's probably 3 connections Cecil will make onto what we've got. And Coteau tiling, Eric Peterson is doing the tiling. Since Cecil is joining the project, I don't know, they'll have to increase the tile line a little bit maybe, but I don't know how much.
Any other comment on this one? All those in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
We'll pass the sheet.
DR 2019-43, Michael and Leland Schwant in Billborn.
Okay, so this is the northeast corner of section 6 in Kilburn Township. This is what it looks like. The water is gonna go down. One letter was sent out on this to the adjoining landowners. Everything else is pretty much, their own. This is what the blown out map looks like. So it's going into the blue line and forcing away to the east. Certified wetland determination is done. This is 142.98 acres owned by Leland Schwant and Dorothy M. Schwant Trust. And Michael was the applicant for this. Would improve the farmland for crop production.
Is that going across the road or under the road or through the road?
Where's it, yeah, where's it?
The Township Road 468th, and he does have the signatures for the township.